Okay. So welcome to the episode, guys. We have Aishwarya Sinhal with us in the podcast today. Aishwarya, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah. Hi guys, I'm Aishwarya Sinhal. I'm from India and currently I'm doing my master's in finance at the London School of Economics.
Yeah. So the reason why we called Aishwarya and how we know Aishwarya is through VIT again. We were in the same branch and in a few same classes together. But when I heard about her decision to pivot from engineering to finance, I was intrigued because I had not seen any of our batchmates do that. Because we are coming from engineering background, and that is I can say a pure commerce background. So we were a bit confused on why she did so, and let's get those answers in the podcast today. So Aishwarya, maybe a brief about how was the journey in VIT, and I think you had chosen EC, right? But then you got placed in Deloitte
Yeah.
USI. So how was the journey from say the campus to corporate, and a bit about your experience in Deloitte as
Okay. So I started with my electronics and communication engineering in VIT as Nishant. And then I think it was towards second year when we were basically in VIT, you get to choose your own electives. And I picked up a few finance related electives like financial markets and investment analysis. And that's when my academic interest grew in the field of finance. And I found those subjects more interested than my degree technology subjects. And I spoke with my father also, and initially there was some resistance, but he also supported my idea. And then I did I did an internship which was in project management. But basically it was kind of because of those electives that my academic interest grew, and I decided that I want to switch towards more of finance and management rather than getting into proper tech field. So I applied for a few. I mean, I was happy I got into Deloitte Risk and Finance Advisory because that was in line to my interest as well. Now my shift from a proper campus to a corporate, it was quite pleasant because I feel having doing certain internships during my undergrad gave me a fair idea of how the corporate world works, which is obviously pretty different from a regular campus life and engineering life. So it was I mean, for me it was kind of a smooth shift because I was experienced in the corporate world already. But it was more professional. You need to know how you conduct yourself in a certain way and how you respond in a certain way because you're expected to behave professionally, while in campus it's very casual. So I mean, this was my journey from VIT to Deloitte.
and you said that you just took a few electives, say in the second year, and that's how you got to know about finance,
Yeah,
right?
I have the same question.
Sorry.
So did you have
Yeah, I
any
have the same question. Like, what all electives you have chosen
and
Oh yeah.
for yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
I took financial markets and institutions. I took project management, investment analysis, portfolio management. So these were some of the electives that I took, which were like not at all related to my degree, but related to the field of finance. And apart from that, like out of my interest, I also started like doing some online courses uh, in the field of finance. So they gave me more like corporate finance, asset markets. I started doing those courses, certified courses online. So they also gave me a fair idea of what the field exactly is about. And I mean, it kind of it make improved my interest in the field, if you say.
So I have a question there. Like most of us, like coming from the science background, in a STEM based schooling, right?
Yeah.
So after 10th, like most of us, like only have a concentrated focus on physics, chemistry, maths, and then coming to the engineering part. So what did you at the first time when you were deep diving into this finance world, or what basically these electives have helped you to think about it, this as a
So
career?
yeah, no, actually, good that you asked because I feel this started before my engineering as well. So in my 11th standard, in my 11th standard as my fifth subject, I was doing economics because along with physics, chemistry, and maths. So even then, I was very much excited about the subject. Like I could have chosen any other subject like IT or computer science along with PCM, but I went for economics because I enjoyed the subjects in my class 9th and 10th as well, and I did perform well. But for some reason, I ended up dropping that subject, and I took up physical education in class 12, because it was more scoring. And even at that point, basically your board grades also counted towards your entrance exams. So that's a different case. But I mean, even in school, I was inclined towards economics, and I feel that kind of continued and transferred into my elective interest as well.
Makes sense. You had an earlier exposure with
Yeah.
economics that really helped you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So once you joined VIT, you took those electives, then you landed a job in Deloitte. So was there a plan from the beginning itself that you wanted to work for 2 years and then go for masters? Or is it something that you decided in the flow that maybe let me take some experience and then I'll think about higher studies?
So I had been thinking about going for a master's, and particularly in finance, like towards the end of my engineering, and once I started work at Deloitte. But I was also aware that, and I wanted to do it from a good school. And I was very well aware of the fact that if I want to get into a good school, I need to have the relevant experience and a good foundation, basically, to cope up with the curriculum, and basically to get into a good school. And I mean, just doing my engineering itself was not enough. Like for me personally as well, I won't have been cope up I would not have been able to keep up with the program if I just came straight out of college. So doing like having a 2 years of work experience in the risk and finance department in Deloitte actually like helped me level up a little, and it also gave me time to explore more. And like even I did some of these relevant courses. Like Deloitte offers you its own courses you can do while you are working. So I did some courses on banking and finance, and during my time at Deloitte as well. And then side by side, again, I did a few other online courses. So I think it was a cumulative, uh, it basically totaled up towards helping me continue my uh, master's in finance, you can say, like the application, the whole process towards it.
Makes sense. So like how have you like started once like you have made your mind like you will have to go for the finance and do MBA in it, and so how have you approached it? Like did you know like what all you have to appear like select the colleges and then go for it, or like what are the best universities in India while you were exploring? So how have you figured out things basically?
So for me, I mean, I was pretty clear from the beginning that I wanted to gain an experience abroad. So I didn't really research more about the institutes in India. I did my research for institutes in mainly US and Europe, because they had better institutes. And even during that time, it was a long process. Definitely, I started this whole research and process more than a year before I actually came here. So my program started in 2021, and I started my research about it, I think, in around March 2020. Because so you have to give the entrance, like the GMAT, or you can take the GRE. You need an exam for English, IELTS, or TOEFL. Like this is specifically for India. It varies across countries. And then you need to have a solid statement of purpose. And just one statement of purpose is sometimes not sufficient, because different universities have different criteria. They have certain set of questions which you need to answer. You need to keep in touch with your academic mentors at your university, because you need their letter of recommendations. And since I had a work experience of only 2 years, and basically like more than a year and less than 2 years when I was applying, so just my professional LOR was not enough. They still needed my academic LORs. So I had to keep in touch with my academic faculties at VIT as well. And then even like to get a professional LOR, it's not a very easy process, because you need to have a certain rapport with your manager or with your mentor at work, so that you can comfortably discuss the same with him. And he also agrees and he encourages you to go ahead. So this is also, I feel, it's sometimes it's a neglected factor, but it's super important to get a good LOR from your workplace. And basically the whole process, it makes you realize more why you want to go for that program or whether that is right for you. And then researching about different universities, so it's not just the brand name that's going to help you in the future. Of course it's a big plus, but then it's location, whether you think you'll be able to survive in that location, or is there a language barrier, or if maybe for some people the weather is too important, but these are secondary. If the program, basically the course content, if that interests you or not, if it's too technical for you, or if it's something you've done already, or how the program is conducted. Because when I was applying, all the courses were happening online, and that wasn't super exciting. So some of the universities had started releasing their announcements saying that from my batch, like 2021 onwards, they would do it in person, which is, I feel, more motivating than like having your whole degree being done sitting at home, because you lose out on all the in-person experience. And I realize how important it is now. And additionally, speaking to a lot of people who are already doing these courses, like a lot of alumni, reach out to people on LinkedIn, send thousands of messages to different people, because you send 100 messages, only like handful of them will reply. And I feel even while sending LinkedIn messages, you should not restrict to sending messages to only those people who you feel would reply, because you don't know, like I would not just reply, I would not just connect with Indians. I would send messages to different nationalities as well, because I feel that's where your branching out starts. Because if you're going, stepping out, if you're going to a different country, that is one important aspect of it, to branch out and not just remain in your comfort zone. So I feel this whole process, the sooner you start, the more comfortable it will be than like just rushing through it towards the end.
Yeah, and actually, I think
Right.
one of the important aspects is not only giving those exams and researching about the colleges, but also building your profile, right? And you coming from an
Definitely, yeah.
engineering
So
background, yeah, and you had relevant experience in those 2 years, but did you do anything else that maybe set your profile apart? Some courses that you
yeah,
took, some experience apart
yeah.
from your
So
work experience.
I did certain courses from Coursera, certified courses, and I feel those are important because they show that you were motivated enough to basically take out time to do something on your own, to build that interest, and basically showcase it to others that yes, you are like seriously involved in the field. And then reading more about it and researching about it and speaking to people who are in the field, so that kind of helps you develop that interest. And regarding building my profile, so even during my engineering undergrad, I was part of this social entrepreneurship organization called Inactus. And even in that venture, I was the director of finance. So I was handling the field of finance in that venture as well, which I feel was, I mean, it helped me build my profile, but it also gave me a small scale hands-on experience of what the field involved, like a very small scale version, but at least I got an experience in it. And similarly, like doing various projects in Deloitte in risk and finance was again a huge plus towards building my profile. And as I said, the whole aspect of doing online courses, and I feel this was like, it's a cumulative effect, and it basically showcases how serious and how motivated you are towards the field.
So I have a question, like while you were having the experience, profile, interest in finance, right? So being in a technical background earlier, so did you felt any of the barriers while applying for the MBA universities or while giving the interviews or anything? Like, is there
So
any barriers or like there is any wrong mindset of the folks, like they are from the technical background, they might not be a good fit for the finance. So did you feel that?
So I did feel that before I did my research. I was obviously not confident, not super confident that I'll actually get into a master's in finance, because as you said, it's kind of unconventional and not a lot of people do it. So but when you actually start looking up, doing your research, you find that a lot of these universities are actually open to accepting people from different backgrounds. And but again, it's not as easy as it would have been if you come from a finance or economics background, because you're already, you know, stuff. But for me it was completely new, like even the different terms or terminologies that you use in finance was something which I was not super aware about. So again, doing more research about it, learning, like it's a lot of self learning. You have to work on it, you have to spend time, you have to read, you have to do stuff, you have to research, so that you can answer in interviews, so that you know that this is right for you. And definitely it's not as easy as it would have been if I was coming directly from finance undergrad. Also, I think I missed one important part about building profile. I spoke mostly about academic and professional skills, but another aspect which is, I feel it is super important, is having some important, like some continuous consistent extracurriculars, because this is something which people sometimes neglect, but it is important. And because it shows what else you are interested in and what else you are capable of outside your work and your interests. And it is a great like basically point of communication as well, if with your interviewer. Like for example, you are interested in a certain hobby and your interviewer by chance is also a fan of that particular sport or hobby, then it helps you build a connection, and that kind of eases out the whole interview process for you. So having a certain set of extracurriculars which you are genuinely interested in, not just for the sake of putting it in on your CV, but you're generally interested in, is also important.
Makes sense. I think we
Got it.
started maybe unknowingly from college itself that you are interested in finance courses, right? And that became gradually as in when you research more about it, it
Yeah.
became more sense to you that yeah, I want to pursue my career in this field. So it was not like an overnight thought like let's
No, no, no,
switch
it
to
can't be.
finance. Yeah, because it's important to highlight this, as people think that oh yeah, maybe the work that I'm doing might not really benefit me. Let's look for early master's degrees, and as MSc Finance is one of the options, let's apply for that. So it's not something that
No.
people should be doing ideally, is what I've understood, because you need to have some background in that field, so that even if your application is considered there or not, right?
Definitely. I mean, in my class as well, like for me, I needed a certain work experience in order to have a better understanding and better chance at getting into a good university. But I mean, a lot of my classmates came straight out of their undergrads, and that is also possible. But then if you look at their backgrounds, they already have undergrad in finance or economics, so that is more relevant. And they have done certain good internships. So, I mean, in the whole process, I feel having a good work experience, whether it is a full time or a part time, it is important, because first of all, it's good for you to know what you're getting into, and then it certainly helps you build your profile so that you have a better chance and a better yeah, you get into a better university.
Correct. And I think that's just one of the
So
major
yeah, I
aspects.
just wanted to ask. Matlab, I don't really know, but uh, by taking commerce, like in 11th and 12th, should have helped in MBA in finance or not? Matlab, the
Yeah, so
subjects
as
that you
I
were,
said,
yeah,
I spoke about this already, that a lot of people, like the majority of the class, I would say, they come from a undergrad in finance or economics. So they took commerce
yeah,
in their high school. But that was not the
got it.
case for me, because I wasn't, I mean, at that point, I wasn't looking for finance or pursuing a career in finance. I mean, even now, I don't regret doing engineering, because that helped me get to where I am today. And I did learn a lot. Like if not engineering, I mean, I don't know how I would have turned out if I took commerce, but so that worked out for me. But I mean, yeah, the conventional way is to do an undergrad in finance or economics and then go for a master's. But even if you did not do the relevant undergrad, I think the universities now, they don't restrict you, and you still have an option. You basically have to show them that yes, you are dedicated towards the field and you have a genuine interest.
Definitely, but you have to go and study those subjects later point in time, right? You might have spent some time in learning those subjects
Yeah, yeah,
and building some,
self-learning, as I said.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
definitely, yeah. That's really awesome.
Okay, so you talked about how to build your profile, but what after building a profile while you're applying, right? So did you take any counselor to apply to the colleges, or how did you approach the applications phase wherein you have to write those essays, show your
Yeah.
story, create your story in certain manner that is unique to every school, right? So what was your process of drafting the applications for these schools?
It was a very intense process, to be honest, like really intense, because I was balancing work and the whole application process. And I did take help of a professional services, a consultant who basically guided me throughout the process. But then I feel it was good for me that I did that, because there was a certain direction I had about how to approach these. And a lot of this essay writing process is basically self retrospection. And because you're constantly asking why you want to do this program, why you think you are suitable for this program, what is your career goal after this, after you finish your masters, why are you interested in this university. So that is something that you need to know, and it varies from person to person. So you can't have a generic answer, like you can't say your university is great or it's ranked number one. You need to know why. Was it the program that interested you, or was it a professor who teaches there and you are interested in his research and you want to learn more about it? It can be any reason which is personal to you. So this whole process is basically you figuring that out and then putting it down. And my consultant also helped me through it, but by basically it was he did not help me in the essays or LORs. Like he did not spoon feed or write it for me, not at all, not even any examples. It was me writing it throughout, and you would just proofread it. So if you decide to do all of this by yourself also, it's great. I've seen people who do it by themselves and it works out well for them. But then have someone who is there to support you throughout, like they can proofread it for you or they can help you make certain improvements. So mainly what you need is a good SOP, statement of purpose, which you can break down into different essay questions as per different university requirements. You need academic LORs, like strong, really strong recommendations. That's why I would emphasize on maintaining good contacts with your academic mentors, academic faculties, and your professional workplace managers, because you need their strong recommendations as well. And you need a good CV, a good CV in a particular format. And you need to have your good grades. You definitely need good grades from your undergrad, because they ask for your transcripts. So the whole process, it's a lengthy process for sure, but then towards the end it's worth it. Once you start getting interview invites and you start getting your acceptances, you realize it's worth it. And this is just the first phase of it. You need to prepare for your GMAT or your GRE. And that obviously, I mean, for me it could not happen in a month. I needed a certain time frame. And you need to prepare for your IELTS or TOEFL. And then at the same time you have to start preparing for your interviews, because each interview also kind of varies. You have to prepare it according to the university. You can't have a generic response. If one university asks you why our university, you can't just have a same response for all. You need to tell them why that particular university. So it's a whole process. It is time consuming and it is very demanding. But if you have decided and if you're sure about it, then obviously it will work out.
All right. And so once the application was submitted, you were done with the interviews, then you had an option to maybe choose colleges and you went for LSE, London School of Economics, right? So how did you go about defining why you wanted to go for LSE? Because you said you
So,
applied to US and European B schools both, right? So there must be
yes.
something on why you chose Europe and specifically
Yeah.
the UK.
And also, like, how is this interview process? Like, what they usually ask, or you have to prepare for the interviews also.
Okay. So I'll answer the interview process question first. So interview process for me, at least it was now during COVID time, you can have either an in-person, like a virtual Zoom interview where you actually have the interviewer on the other side, or you can have a pre-recorded interview where basically a question pops up and you have to answer on spot and it gets recorded. So you have to be prepared for both. And the kind of questions is basically similar to what you have already answered in your essays, but it could also be a situational question, like tell me about a time you worked in a team, or what has been the most challenging task that you've done. Or it could be something related to the field of finance, related to the current affairs that has been going on. Or basically it's it's usually a strength based or a competency based interview, but some of them might focus more on the field of finance and what's going on there. And to answer Nishant's question, like why I picked LSE, because I mean, from the beginning, I wanted to study in London. And because given that London is the financial hub, it has more options and it has more opportunities. And secondly, I realized that there's no language barrier because I mean, it's a big deal. English is the most common language. So in that aspect itself, it would have been comfortable for me. And in terms of the school brand name, I feel it's globally known compared to my the other universities that I got into, that were good universities. They were known in Europe, but they, compared to LSE, they were not as big as global brand names as this one was. And for me, another reason why I picked Europe over US would be because Europe basically offers you 1 year master courses. So I wanted to save on a year, because you save on a year, it's relatively less expensive. I won't call it cheaper because it's not. It's less expensive compared to universities in US who have a 2 year masters. So like it was a cumulative effect of all these aspects that I decided to go for LSE.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
basically,
So
so finance will have different
career
fields, right? Right. So
yeah.
Yeah.
what do you think you want to do in the future in finance?
Okay. So, I mean, in finance, if you see generally, if you look at the career stats also of different universities, it's mainly people either go into investment banking or they'll go into finance consulting. These are the main two brackets, I would say. But then there are other options as well. People get into asset management, wealth management. A lot of people are interested in private equity, but I mean, in reality, it's not very easy to go from a master's degree directly into private equity, because it's just the whole process that it's not super easy, or you need to have a certain amount of experience to get into PE. So that's a whole different aspect. But yeah, so mainly it's investment banking or you get into consulting. For me, I am more interested towards finance consulting because I feel that is something which I enjoyed in my previous work experience, and with my current academic qualification, I feel it is more in line with my interest and my skill set. So
Can
yeah,
you
these
little
are
bit highlight in the finance consulting, like what all it includes?
finance consulting, what all it includes. It depends on the
Like,
project. Like, okay, so it
okay,
could be financial crimes prevention, it could be risk mitigation, it could be anti-money laundering, or if even in it could be like, yeah, if you get into investment banking, it could be mergers and acquisition, working on deal initiation. So you have a lot of options. It's
got
a
it.
huge field. So you are not restricted that you have to get into banking only. You still have
Hmm.
a lot of options after finance. And then there are great options, like it's not you can get a summer internship, you can get into a graduate scheme, or if you are like if you have the opportunity, you can get into a full time directly. So there are good opportunities, there are good career options available for sure. But in terms of an international student, and speaking from as an Indian, it's easy. I mean, I won't say easy, but it's the situation is better compared to how it was a few years back. If I speak to my alumni or people who applied for jobs back then, but it's not obviously getting into a good school or a good branded school does not definitely not guarantee you a good job. You still have to work on it. It's all you. Your university, obviously you have certain leverage over other students, but if you see in London specifically, your competing school is as good. You are competing with students from LBS, from Cambridge, from Oxford, Imperial, and your own class. So if you look at the whole aspect, it's not as easy as you might think sitting at home. Like how I was, that I got into a good college, so I probably land up a good job, but it's not a cakewalk. You still have to work for it once you're here. And especially in finance, you actually start applying once your course starts. Like, so basically you are studying and at the same time you are applying for jobs. So it's not like the other courses where you finish your masters and then you start looking for a job. You are looking for a job side by side your full-time masters is going on. So it's definitely, it's an intense process, but you have to work for it.
Got it. Yeah, I think people should not take
Yeah.
anything lightly, even if they get into a good college, because it's not the same
Definitely
as
not.
India, right? Because they don't have a placement cell to bring in companies and get us placed in
Yeah,
colleges.
exactly.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
the major difference that we have got. But yeah,
Yes.
that's pretty clear on how it's going on in LSE. And thanks for explaining the different fields that are there in finance, because I was not aware about all of
Yeah.
them, and that
No, definitely.
gave me and I hope the audience more clarity. So Aishwarya, last question is regarding the conclusion and tips for people who might want to shift to finance from any field, be it engineering or non-engineering backgrounds. So what tip do you have for them, or what suggestion do you have for them from your experience so far that might help them, land those master degrees in finance?
So I feel if you are coming from a non-finance background and looking for pursuing a master's in finance or finance-related degree, it's definitely helpful if you have certain experience. Like, you have to build your profile, you have to build that interest, and if you have built that interest, you need to be able to showcase it. If it's in terms of internships or online courses or whatever you can, or you worked with some, even if you have a family business and you're working in it, then you have to be able to showcase that you were interested in that field and what you did in that field. So developing a profile and then having certain experience before you actually go for a master's is definitely helpful, because even the university needs to have certain trust that yes, this person is motivated enough and is capable enough to handle the program. Because it's I mean, at least for LSE, it is a super intense program. It is a 10-month program, so it's really fast paced and you need to keep up. So if you and you can do that only if you have a certain background in the field. So even if you come from a non-finance background, but you are ready to work on yourself, then I feel it's not a big deal. And I mean, it's not a big deal and you can do it.
Pretty clear. Thank you so much,
Thanks a lot,
Aishwarya.
Aishwarya.
Yeah, thanks for
I think
joining the
like
session. Yeah, go ahead.
she can end up if she can talk a little bit about the good financial investments or like the best stock.
Personal
No,
finance.
no, no. I
Cherry
think
on
that
the top.
a professional might be able to help better with that. I'm not taking responsibilities for other people's money right now.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Cool.
Thanks a lot,
Yeah,
Aishwarya,
thanks,
for your
Aishwarya.
time.